We've all heard the term ignorance is bliss. However, this is one of those things where the more you think about it, the more true it becomes. This goes double for threats against humanity that we have absolutely no control over. Of course, you're watching a video on the Underworld channel where we regularly shatter your bliss and remind you of so many crazy things to be afraid of. This video is no different. At any given moment, human beings are under some threat of a society-ending event. From outer space to deep within our own planet, there are so many things that could wipe out humanity in an instant. But exactly what sort of threats are we talking about? Are they actually possible? What are the chances that they'll happen anytime soon? From mega earthquakes to supervolcano eruptions, here are 5 natural disasters that could end humanity. You may not stop to think about it, but our sun is the most important thing in our solar system for sustaining life. So many things on our planet are reliant on the sun, from temperatures to plant life. But what many of us fail to keep in mind is that our star is one huge nuclear reactor, constantly pumping out radiation in vast amounts. From time to time, it spits out radiation in huge quantities. These are known as solar flares. When the radiation makes it to Earth, it can damage everything from our satellites to our electric grids on the ground. Some more alarming predictions have been made, though. Scientists say that at some point in the next 100 years, our sun could release a solar flare large enough to knock out all of our electrical grids, satellite communications, and internet on a global scale. While this may not be something that would end humanity itself, the resulting chaos absolutely could. However, scientists have also said that about every 20 million years or so, extreme superflares occur from our star with enough energy to destroy our ozone layer, cause DNA mutations, and disrupt ecosystems. The UV rays, which would reach all the way to the Earth's surface, would also affect the marine food chain, as it would kill plankton in the oceans, which form the basis of the marine food chain. Also, the excess radiation would affect bacterial processes such as cyanobacteria, which convert nitrogen in air to nitrates in soil for crops. So, crops like corn and rice would not be able to survive, greatly affecting the human population in turn. While this may sound scary, thankfully, the odds of something like this happening are about as close to zero as you can get. In terms of natural disasters, volcanoes are unique in the fact that they are true displays of the incredible power of our planet. From Mount Vesuvius to the Krakatoa eruption, history has seen some truly devastating eruptions that have not only taken thousands of lives, but have even changed the landscape itself. However, these pale in comparison to the power of supervolcanoes. Supervolcanoes are areas where a magma chamber of incredible proportions lies just beneath the surface of the Earth. One of the most well-known of these is Yellowstone National Park. Here, 2 lava chambers sit beneath the park. The smaller of them lies only 5 kilometers below the surface, but stretches 40 kilometers wide and 90 kilometers long. The second is much deeper, but about 4.5 times the size of the smaller one. These huge chambers are constantly filling with more and more magma, so much so that ground in the caldera area of Yellowstone is rising a few inches per year. Is it possible for this volcano to explode? And if it does, what will happen? Well, scientists estimate that this volcano has an eruption rate of once every 600,000 years, give or take. It has also been about 600,000 years since it last erupted, so some might argue it's overdue. If it were to erupt, magma and debris would be spread for hundreds of miles in each direction. Ash would be distributed many thousands of miles past that. Also, the massive amounts of ash deposited into the air would be carried into the atmosphere, hiding much of the sunlight and lowering temperatures. Over time, this can trigger another ice age. Of course, there's no telling when an eruption might occur. In fact, the odds that an eruption of this scale happens in our lifetime is extremely slim. While Yellowstone is likely the most popular supervolcano on Earth, it isn't the biggest. That title belongs to La Garita caldera, which is many times the size of Yellowstone. Of all of the natural disasters that can occur on Earth, one of the most terrifying would have to be earthquakes. They are incredibly difficult to predict and nearly impossible to take shelter from. As the Earth's tectonic plates grind and bump against each other, we are left at the mercy of the shaking ground. Since humans started measuring the intensity of earthquakes, the most powerful ever was the Valdivia earthquake of 1960, which measured as a 9.5. Its power generated tsunamis over 90 feet high, reaching as far away as Japan. But what would happen if a magnitude 10 earthquake occurred? Is it even possible? Scientists at Tohoku University in Japan say yes. These quakes occur around once every 10,000 years. But, since one has never been recorded, it is difficult to say when it would happen again. However, if it did happen, researchers say ground motions would occur for up to an hour, with tsunamis hitting every shore on that ocean, even while the ground continued to shake. These tsunamis would continue for several days, causing major damage to several Pacific Rim nations, if in fact that is where the earthquake took place. There would be more danger than just the shaking ground and tsunamis. The very balance of the Earth could also be thrown off. When the Japanese earthquake of 2011 struck, it was a 9.0. However, it was strong enough to move the entire island over 8 inches, slow the rotation of the Earth by a few microseconds, and even changed the Earth's axis by a couple of inches. Knowing this, you can figure that a magnitude 10 would be much worse for the planet. After the shaking and tsunamis claim their lives, the remaining population would have to deal with the after effects. Volcanoes all over the world would be triggered to erupt. Ash clouds could block the sun's light. The list goes on. Of course, this is a worst-case scenario and isn't likely, but it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. So much of our lives are affected by the sun and the moon. The sun brings us light and warmth during the days. The moon reflects the sun's light at night, giving us enough light to manage. Also, our ocean's tides are in perfect balance due to the gravitational influence. As the moon orbits the Earth, from time to time it gets in the way of the sun, causing an eclipse. It is truly a beautiful spectacle to see. But when we take time to remember that the sun's light is essential to life on Earth, we have to wonder what would happen if a complete solar eclipse lasted longer than just a few minutes. The first thing that everyone would notice is that the moon wasn't moving in its normal trajectory. Just like satellites, the orbital trajectory is precisely what keeps it from succumbing to the gravitational influence of Earth. If the moon were ever to simply stop, we would see it getting larger and larger in the sky. That is because it would be on a collision course with Earth. That would undoubtedly be the end of all life. But if it were simply the case that the moon stayed in front of the sun, blocking its light, we would see a sudden drop in the Earth's temperatures by 10 to 20 degrees. The crops would wither and die in the sudden absence of the light they need to survive. Additionally, depression would set in throughout the majority of people due to an increase in seasonal affective disorder. This depression occurs during long winter months in higher latitudes with lack of sunshine. It would be a disastrous scenario, and luckily one I don't think we will ever have to deal with. When we look into the night sky, there is more than planets and their moons flying through space. At any given point, there are millions of asteroids orbiting the sun. Most are the size of basketballs and melons, while many others are the size of cars. However, there are quite a few asteroids that reach truly enormous proportions, ranging in size from entire city blocks to a few miles across. What is even scarier still is the fact that many of these huge rocks have orbital paths that intersect the orbital path of the Earth. Of all of the ways that life on Earth will end, the most commonly believed way is by an impact from a huge asteroid. After all, that is exactly what wiped out the dinosaurs millions of years ago. If it were one of the large asteroids and it struck land, the explosion would rock the Earth, sending flames for thousands of miles in every direction. The dust cloud would cover the Earth, totally blocking out the sun's light and freezing everything on our planet. More than likely, though, the impact would be an ocean impact. But with an asteroid of that size, it would pretty much be like it was striking land. A tsunami would rush in every direction faster than the speed of sound. As it approaches land, it would slow down, growing to nearly 3 miles high. The waters would reach hundreds of miles inland. Dust clouds would still fill the Earth's atmosphere, freezing everything within a matter of months. So yes, ignorance is bliss. The various ways humanity could end is terrifying. But we will keep watch, staying vigilant and creating new ways to either protect ourselves or manage after the damage is done. To see another video about natural disasters, be sure to click the link on screen now. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new to never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.